In this lecture, we are going to talk about composite functions. Consider the function f of x and g of x. Find each of the following. Let's look at example number 1. Example number 1 says g of -2. So I'm going to rewrite the g function because that's what it tells me to do. Now this means that I'm going to take the 2 and plug it in for x. So I'm going to have g of -2 equals -2 squared plus 5. And now I'm going to simplify it. -2 squared is going to be 4, and I bring down the plus 5. So I have g of -2 equals 9. For the next example, we have g of f of 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with that middle function, f of 3. So I am going to rewrite the function f of x equals 3x plus 4. And wherever there's an x, I'm going to put that 3 in. So I have f of 3 equals 3 times 3 plus 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Bring down the plus 4. And then 9 plus 4 is going to be 13. So f of 3 is going to be 13. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute that f of 3. F of 3 disappears, and that now becomes the 13. So now, as you can see, I have g of 13. So I'm going to bring down that g function. So g of x equals x squared plus 5. And I'm going to plug in that 13 now into the g function. So g of 13 equals 13 squared plus 5. 13 squared is going to be 169, and I bring down that plus 5. 169 plus 5 is going to be 174. So now, to write my answer, I'm going to rewrite the original function problem that I started with, g of f of 3. And then when I compute all that, I get the answer of 174. Let's take a look at example number 3. Example number 3 says f of g of x. I'm going to work with that inside function first, g of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the g function. So g of x equals x squared plus 5. Now what this tells me is that I'm going to use the g function, and I'm going to make sure x is plugged in. So now you can see that I have my x plugged into the function. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take everything that g of x equals, so x squared plus 5, and plug all that in to all of g of x. So now I'm going to have f of x squared plus 5. So I'm going to take f of x, and let me rewrite it here. So f of x is going to be 3x plus 4. And wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in that function. So I have f of x squared plus 5 equals 3 times x squared plus 5 plus 4. And I'm sorry, this is meant to be plus 4. So now I can simplify everything. So I have parentheses, so I'm going to do the distributive property. So I have 3x squared plus 15, and then I bring down that plus 4. And I'm left with 3x squared plus 19. So my final answer is going to be f of g of x equals 3x squared plus 19.